It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome into another edition of Musso at the Box. LSU, they head up to Rocky Top, Lindsey Nelson Stadium. They'll face the top 5 ranked Tennessee Volunteers in a very pivotal, pivotal is not even a good enough word. LSU needs this one this weekend. They at least need to get one out of the 3, but the Tigers are looking to get off the schneid, losers of 4 straight conference weekends to open up SEC play. And this is the last major test before the schedule, quote unquote, lightens up a little bit. So we will go through it from every single angle. The way these teams match up, it creates a pretty interesting dynamic. They are similar in some ways, vastly different in others. There's a great equalizer, maybe, but also to the detriment when you look at the ballpark that they're going to be playing in. There's just a lot of different angles with this LSU and Tennessee matchup that we have to explore today. So, look, I'm fired up. Y'all smash the like button. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app if you have not already. And let's not waste any more time. Let's get right down to business. So we will start, as we do always, with our series overview. LSU, the visiting team, comes into this one 22-12 overall, coming off a 16-0 win over McNeese State on Tuesday night. They are 3-9 in the SEC. The homestanding Vols, ranked as high as number 4 in the country, 27-6 overall on the year, 7-5 in Southeastern Conference play. They are coming off of a midweek win that, like just about every game Tennessee has played this year, has featured plenty of offense. And we're going to talk a lot of offense. They beat Alabama A&M 20-2 in 7 innings. When you look at the overall history of this series, LSU leads it 62-29. When you look specifically at games played in Knoxville, LSU has a slight lead, 20-18. This should be a great one here. Tennessee, as a ball club, just to touch on the offense here, 338 as a club, 89 home runs. They are slugging .671 as a team. They average 10.7 runs per game. That is second in the country and leads the SEC. On the mound for the Vols, that's where it can get a little shaky for them. There's some uncertainty, we'll call it, that we'll get into, most of it dealing kind of with the starting rotation. But as a club, a team ERA of 3.90. When you jump to conference games only, that team ERA balloons to 6.25. So that, again, tells you a little bit of kind of what I'm getting. I mean, almost 3 full runs higher. Not quite, but almost 3 full runs higher. So you have seen a little bit of an issue there pitching-wise for Tennessee. So that's what I'm saying. It's an interesting dynamic where LSU's offense at times this year has shown really good promise in scoring runs. And if you're facing a staff that has some uncertainty in a small ballpark, maybe this is an opportunity for you to really kind of show what you're made of offensively, especially coming off of the performance that they are against McNeese, where, yes, they scored 16 runs, but it's the way they did it, right? That's what we talked about, was they don't care about the level of competition. I just want to see them execute. And LSU executed very well offensively. You had the 4 home runs, 3 of them from Bear Jones, but you had, the 2 runs on the squeeze bunt. You had some hit and runs attempted. You had some stolen bases. You had some really good situational hitting from the bottom of your order. Not just situational hitting, situational at-bats from the bottom of your order. So hopefully when you look at a Tennessee staff that has had some struggles in conference play, playing in an offensive-friendly ballpark, maybe this is a time that LSU can kind of break out of their shell offensively and really put it together consistently for 3 games in a row, which, man, I'm not really sure LSU is done all year long. I mean, just sitting here thinking about that, I mean, maybe the weekend in Houston is the closest that they've got, but I mean, you look at opening weekend. You scored 11 in the first game, 2 in the next, and then 27 in the third. So you can go all the way back there. It hasn't been consistent enough for 3 games. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to do that. All right, let's dive into our pitching matchups. And you have some shuffling in the rotations for both teams. Let's start with LSU. LSU is going to flip their rotation. Sophomore lefty Gage Jump will go game number 1 for LSU. Excuse me. This will be appearance 9, start 8 for Jump. He is 2-0 with a 3.98 ERA. 31 2/3 innings for Jump on the year, 11 walks, 38 strikeouts. The opponent hits just 217 off of Gage Jump. We know what the stuff is with Jump. Like, it's really good. The fastball is going to live in the low 90s. It can get up to 96 when he's really feeling it, when he's got a great feel for the breaking ball. He can really make it a long day for an opposing lineup. You're just looking for a little bit more consistency. You've seen some really good, some really good signs. Like, again, you can go back to that weekend in Houston. He was awesome against ULL in that game. You can go back to the Florida game. He got you into the 6th inning. He was really good. But then you've also had a few instances where he's been chugging along, and then the wheels have kind of fallen off for him. So you're just looking for a little bit more consistency. This is a great opportunity for him. He's facing a great lineup, the best lineup in the conference, on the road. 3rd road start, and this will be very hostile up there in Knoxville. They those Tennessee fans are something. They're a breed of their own. Vol for life up there, right? They are a breed of their own. And it's an intimidating place because it's small and compact, and the fans are right on you. So it's definitely going to test the mettle for not only Gage Jump, but for a guy like Luke Holman and any pitcher LSU runs out there. And it can snowball on you fast, especially going up against this lineup. But we mentioned this in the recap. The one thing I really liked from Jump in his start against Vanderbilt was no walks. That was huge because that was something we had really kind of been watching for him, because the guy, what was it, 12, 14, 15 innings or something in college that he had coming in, and he hadn't pitched in a year, and you knew, okay, it's going to take a little bit for him to get that, get that control, get that command just consistently and pound the zone. He did that last week against Vanderbilt. The issue is they hit him a little bit. It was a bit of a problem to maybe keep the lead after he started, 3 up, 3 down the first 2 innings. He was given a couple leads, couldn't hang on to it, but they hit him. Tip your hat to a good team in Vanderbilt. You're much more willing to see that than walks and things of that nature. So when I look for Gage Jump, he pounded the zone, a little bit more quality of a strike, a little bit more refined there. Keep pounding that zone. Keep the walk number low. That was a great step in the right direction. Now, can you just have a little bit more refinement, a little bit more quality of a strike, and finish some hitters off at a little bit higher clip? And again, you're going to get a great test. If he does that, you're going to really, really like the outcome, I think, with Gage Jump on the mound. Because as we said to start this whole monologue on him, the stuff plays. Like, there ain't no second guessing the stuff out of number 23's hand. For Tennessee, they have not announced a starter as of this podcast. It is TBA for the Volunteers. They have a couple different options. So, quite honestly, the TBA for them, not surprising. A.J. Causey, sidearm righty, had been occupying that spot when A.J. Russell went down with some soreness in his arm. And Causey was off to a good start, but as of lately, it's been really rough. In his last 2 SEC starts, those being against Georgia and Auburn, he didn't make it out of the 3rd inning in either and allowed, 15 hits, 15 earned runs, 16 runs total in those 2 starts. So it makes sense that they're taking a step back and going, okay, maybe we recalibrate this. And maybe they do run A.J. Causey out there. They could. But I think if they were going to do that, they'd probably just announce him. So I'm expecting to see somebody different. We mentioned A.J. Russell right off the top. He has not pitched since March 23rd. He was the Friday night guy, but has been dealing with some soreness. I don't think that's your option. One of the guys that would make a lot of sense is Aaron Combs. Aaron Combs is a righty, right-handed reliever, does not have he has 2 starts on the year, but the reason I point to him as somebody who would make the most sense is when Causey struggled last Friday against Auburn, Combs was the first guy out of the bullpen, and he was able to give them length. And he really pitched well. Like in that game, 4 innings, 1 run, struck out 6. Like they were able to extend him. That would make sense. To throw somebody like him, he'd be on quote-unquote normal rest, right? I mean, he didn't pitch in the game, in the midweek game. He didn't pitch the rest of that weekend. So he's full rest, ready to go, and you can get some length out of him. There are a few other guys that they use lengthwise, but most of them are in the bullpen, and most of them are some of their best bullpen arms. I don't really think you want to burn them if you're Tennessee. So, educated guess on who Tony V runs out there, I will go with Aaron Combs. LSU saw him 3 times last year, never for an extended period, but, I mean, look, it's going to be a fastball slider mix from him from the right side, and the stuff is plenty good. The numbers aren't going to jump off the page at you here, but the stuff is plenty good. So, and again, the intel LSU will have plenty good on him as well, seeing him 3 times last year. Let's move to game number 2. That will obviously be Luke Holman. Holman will be making start 9, appearance 9. He is 6-1 on the year with a 2.01 ERA, 44 2/3 innings pitched, 13 walks, and leads the team with 71 strikeouts. The opponent hits just 174 off of Luke Holman. I want to see it on the road. It's that simple. I mean, y'all, Luke Holman at home has been really, 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 really good. Luke Holman on the road, not so much. Like, the start in Houston, that was great. That also was not a road game. LSU fans dominated Minute Maid Park. It was a great atmosphere for him to pitch in, but not the same thing. You look at him on the road at Mississippi State, 4 2/3, gave up 10 hits. Now, his defense let him down a lot in that game. We've established that, but 5 runs. 5 runs, only 2 earned, but on 10 hits in 4 2/3. You go to Arkansas, 4 1/3, 3 runs, 5 hits, walked 5. Like, those are 2 big outliers there. He's battled hard in both. Like, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that. He has battled hard in both. He has kept LSU in the game in both, which is a massive part of what you're looking for. Massive part of what you're looking for. But in that Mississippi State start, you have a black eye of 10 hits in that ball game. And in the Arkansas start, you have a black eye of 5 walks. You need more consistency. I need to see the guy who, at home against Florida goes 6 innings, 1 run, right? Or 5 2/3, 4 earned, no walks, 10 Ks against Vandy. Luke Holman needs to be the ace of this staff. For him to do that, he has to be the ace on the road as well as at home. Can he finally put together a great road start? That's one of the big things I'm looking for from him this weekend. For Tennessee, this name should be familiar to all of you. That will be junior right-hander Drew Beam. Beam is start 9, appearance 9, 4-1, an ERA of 3.63, 44 2/3 innings pitched, 7 walks, 40 strikeouts. He's had his moments this year where he struggled a little bit. He's had his moments where he's been dominant. It's been the same story throughout his career. We know what Drew Beam is at this point. Like, is that fair? We know what he is at this point. He is a pitcher that is hittable and has struggled in conference play outside of last week. You look at that start against Alabama, he went 8 innings. That's great. He gave up 6 runs. Start against Ole Miss, 5 1/3, gave up 4 runs. Against Georgia, didn't get out of the 3rd inning, gave up 7 runs. Now, last week against Auburn, he threw a complete game, 7-inning run rule, and only allowed 1 earned run. He was awesome. But there is opportunity against him. When I look at LSU, the way they've hit starters, I like the matchup with them against Drew Beam. I really do. They hit him well last year. I don't believe they faced him in 2022. I'd have to. No, they faced Dolander in the SEC tournament, so they didn't face him. So the one time they've seen Drew Beam, they hit him well. That I like that matchup. Fastball for Beam, low to mid 90s. So, I mean, it's a big arm. The slider when it's going, or if you want to call it a curve, it's a sharp breaking ball. That's going to be about 79 to 81, and it is really good. And he has another off-speed pitch that's slightly harder that he'll throw in there as well. So, I mean, it's 3 pitches. He's definitely got the stuff to, attack you. But, again, I like that matchup with LSU. So, when we circle back with some overall thoughts on the rotation change here momentarily, I'll get into that a little bit more. Game number 3 for LSU, TBA. For Tennessee, that is going to be lefty Xander Zekrist. LSU saw him a couple times last year as well. Crafty lefty, not going to overpower you. Really kind of funky delivery from the left side, kind of a sidearm 3/4 type deal. Fastball is going to be in the mid to high 80s with a high 70s breaking ball. He's tough to hit, though. The opponent is hitting just I'm sorry. I read the wrong line. The opponent's hitting 250 off of Zekrist. This will be his 9th start of the year and 10th appearance. He's got an ERA of 3.37. So, again, it's not overpowering stuff, but he can miss bats just because he's crafty. And he can spot the ball up. And, again, it's the funky arm slot. It's a very different look for teams, as evidenced by 32 strikeouts in 26 and 2/3 innings. So that's who LSU will be taking their hacks against on Sunday. In game number 3. For LSU, y'all, same approach. They're carrying more pitchers this week. We know that. Jay has said it numerous times. We did an entire episode of the show on it and who you can expect to see. So you'll have plenty of arms at your disposal. LSU in this series, like, at worst, they have to get 1. At worst, you have to come out of this thing 4-11. At worst. You cannot get swept. You really need to win it. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you don't, but you really need. Like, if you want to put a few more goals back on the table for this team outside of just making the NCAA tournament, you need to win this weekend. It's going to be a tough challenge. But in order to win games, same thing we talked about last week, go all in, like, immediately, which is why I think it's a little interesting that they are flipping the rotation this weekend. Because, I mean, I guess you're looking at, all right, Tennessee's, I don't want to say pitching off, but they're searching for somebody in that first game to kind of take the reins and go. Well, I mean, I look at that and I'm like, okay, well, golly, you're looking to definitely grab a win here and get off to a great start this weekend. Why wouldn't you throw Luke Holman there and match up with a uncertainty on the other side with your best arm and go out there and just try to, put it in a stranglehold right off the jump? No pun intended for Gage going. But that's not what they're doing. What this looks like is, okay, you have a lot of confidence in Gage jump. The potential is clearly there. You've seen it from him in spurts this year. If he goes out there and has a great night, can you steal a win? Like, I don't want that to come off as a slight, me saying that, but I mean, that's, by holding Luke Holman, you would be stealing a win there. Now, the other side of this is you also match him up against who's been their best pitcher in Drew Beam, and one of their more veteran guys with A.J. Russell down. So, and I've told you, I like that matchup. So when I look at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, if you can win game 1, and maybe you look at it and say, okay, Tennessee's had some struggles on the mound, in conference play. We like our offense. We being the coaches saying, we like our offense. Can you get in a slugfest and win with them? And it doesn't have to, and not necessarily slugfest, but maybe you look at it. Let me rephrase that. Maybe you look at it in a sense of, hey, Gage is going. He's got the potential to do really well, and you like that matchup going up against whoever Tennessee throws because you think your offense can really swing the sticks that night against it. Like, maybe they're looking at it from a perspective of, okay, you have a big offensive advantage here potentially in game number 1 just because of the uncertainty on the mound in Tennessee, that you feel like you're going to be able to score plenty. and you go behind Jump because you know he's, one, going to keep you in the ball game for sure, and two, if he's really dialed in, he can put a hurting on a lineup, and you steal a game. And then you have Luke Holman ready to go for a series. Like, for this, the approach they're going here, they're trying to win the series. They're not just being like, okay, we got to get one. When they pitched off in Arkansas, that was, hey, we got to get one. This is, let's steal game one and have Luke Holman going in game number 2 with a chance to win the series. So I don't hate the move. I'll be honest, it caught me a little off guard because I'm sitting here going, man, look, I mean, you got such a great start in the series last week behind Holman. Same thing against Florida, but the counter argument to that is, look what happened the next 2 days in those series. So, you know, I don't hate the move. It's an interesting one, and we told y'all you were going to see different things this weekend, particularly from the pitching staff. I mean, Jay was, I'm not even going to say dropping hints all week. He was flat out telling you. And this is the first of it. So put me on record. I don't hate the move. Let's go. Let's see if they can go steal a game in game number 1. Have a great outing from Gage Jump, which he's plenty capable of. And, you know, have your horse ready to go in game number 2. A few more arms to look out for on Tennessee, and then we will dive into their offense, and y'all are going to think this is a Blake Burke show with how much we're going to talk about that young man offensively. But a few more guys to look out for Tennessee. The thing about this pitching staff that's interesting is Tennessee's kind of an inverse team from last year to this year. Last year, you had plenty of talent in that lineup. It just didn't really come together until late for Tennessee. From an offensive standpoint, but what they always had was an incredibly deep pitching staff. Like, Tennessee just ran major leaguer after major leaguer after major leaguer out at you. Like, remember when Andrew Lindsay came out of the bullpen in Baton Rouge in game number 3 and was throwing 100? That with a wipeout slider, that sucked. Like, that was stupid. That was not fun to watch. Wanting LSU to score runs. Was it fun to watch that guy pitch? Yeah, because he's just an insane talent. They did the same thing on Friday night. Backed up Chase Dolander, who went, 7th overall or something like that in the draft, with Seth Halverson, who was also throwing 97 with a filthy slider out of the bullpen. Like, that's the horses they were bringing out of their bullpen last year. It was just major leaguer after major leaguer after major leaguer. It was ridiculous. It's not that this year. They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're plenty talented, but it's not that. I mean, one of their best relievers is Nate Snead. He's a big right-handed pitcher, transferred in from Wichita State, and he's been interesting. He's a long relief type guy. They can use him in a lot of different ways. Like, his longest outing on the year, and all of this is in relief. 10 appearances, all relief. Longest outing on the year is 6 innings. But there's also like a 1 2/3, a 2-inning spurt in there as well. The fastball's into the mid-90s. He's got a nice breaking ball that plays off of that as well. And y'all, he's been really good. He leads them in saves. He's got an ERA just a touch over 3. While the fastball is, in the mid-90s, it's not overpowering stuff. Just 32 strikeouts and 38 in the 3rd inning, so he definitely looks for contact. Again, evidence, he's given up almost as many hits as innings pitched, so there's a lot of contact from him, but it's a lot of weak contact. Think really good stuff, but contact. Grayson Carter from Vanderbilt, and LSU hit him pretty well. Now, Snead's not going to rely as heavily on the fastball as Carter did, but similar type guy in makeup there. Just doesn't throw 100, throws 95, 96. But that's been a guy they've really, really leaned on out of their bullpen. And then there's 2 lefties that they've leaned a lot on out of the bullpen as well. One of the names should sound incredibly familiar. Kirby Cannell. He's been there forever. He's their best left-handed option out of the pen. ERA a touch over 3. Tied for the team lead in appearances with 11. He's just not going to extend a bunch. Only 17 innings. Like, they can use him in a matchup setting. They can use him, 7th inning's yours, Kirby, go get it in situations like that, and they will. But he's incredibly tough to hit, and he throws a lot of strikes. So, again, you've seen him plenty. You'll know him when you see him. Long hair out the back of the cap, crazy mustache, kind of a hefty fella. You'll know when you see Kirby Cannell, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that guy. Remember him. And then Chris Stamos is another lefty, 11 appearances out of the pen, 13 innings. So, again, not long relief, but matchup guy that they'll bring in from time to time. Another ERA in the mid-3s. So, he's been very, very good. Very, very good as well. And then after that, they kind of mix and match a lot. Like, those are the guys that really, really stand out. To me, there's others, but again, like I said, it's a bit of a mix and match. Like Marcus Phillips has 8 appearances on the year, all in relief, but Marcus Phillips has not pitched in an SEC game yet, right? So it's just kind of a lot of that. They need their starters to get pretty deep, and if that happens, they they can really put a hurting on you. But Tennessee's going to allow some runs. Where they've gotten by is they scored the second most runs in the country and the most in the SEC. Let's talk about Tennessee's offense. It is the best offense LSU has faced to this point, and that includes the Florida Gators. It is the best offense LSU will face all year long, and I don't think that's hyperbolic at all. Tennessee, like we said off the top, is second in the country, averaging 10.7 runs per game. That would set a new single-season record in the program's history if it ended today, like if the season ended today. That is obviously tops in the SEC, but it does not stop there. Tennessee also leads the conference in batting average at 338, doubles 94, hits 372, home runs 89, home runs per game at 2.7, runs 353, runs per game at 10.7, and slugging percentage at 671. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 offensive categories that they lead the Southeastern Conference in, and they're in the top 7 in all of those in the country. Like, it is an incredible attack. We can talk about their ballpark all we want, and sure, it matters, but y'all, it travels. Tennessee was on the road last week at Auburn. They scored 36 runs and hit a program record 14 home runs. They hit 14 homers on the road, not in Lindsey Nelson, on the road in a conference weekend. Tied a program record, 14 homers. There's a lot of power throughout this lineup. Just a tremendous, tremendous amount. You are looking already just over halfway through the season at 5 guys with double-digit homers, and then Dean Curley, who's an incredible freshman, is right there at 9. You're almost to 6 guys already at double digits. It goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyway. LSU's got to do their dead-level best to keep the ball in the ballpark, to limit the amount of home runs Tennessee hits. They're going to get theirs, especially playing at home. They're going to get theirs, but you just have to limit it. Do your best to keep the ball in the ballpark. Don't give up 14 home runs like Auburn did. In their last 3 games, Tennessee has scored 51 runs. 51 runs. Like, you get why LSU is loading up a little extra on the pitching staff here this week. Let's talk about some individuals, and we're going to start with Blake Burke. And y'all, by now, y'all know the name Blake Burke. Big, hulking left-handed hitter. This is a kid who, as a freshman in limited ABs, hit double-digit home runs. Like, they found ways to get him in the lineup. Last year had a really good season, and this year is just, shattering records. Like, if it were not for Charlie Condon being an absolute cheat code in Athens, Georgia, Blake Burke would be the national darling offensively in the SEC. But Charlie Condon's an absolute cheat code in Athens, Georgia, and he's going to be the first overall pick in the draft, and he's probably going to win the Golden Spikes. But when you look at Blake Burke, this season, he's hitting .410 on the year, so that leads Tennessee, tied for the lead with Tennessee. The 11 home runs are third on the team, and he's driven in 30 RBI. But he has already set Tennessee's career home run record this year. Did that in Saturday's win against Auburn, so he's got 41. Now he's chasing the program record for the longest hitting streak. Blake Burke enters the game Friday night with a 23-game hitting streak. So, yes, the power is incredibly impressive, but his ability to hit for average is even more impressive. Like, for a guy like that to have a .410 average and a 23-game hitting streak, that's a special talent. For what it's worth, he is currently 4 games shy of Connor Holloway's record of 27 straight games. That's the Tennessee record back in 1975. So he's been smashing records. He's in the pursuit of more records. He is just an absolutely deadly, deadly player. You can take your pick. There's a lot of familiar names. We're going to run through a few of them here in Tennessee's lineup that you go, oh, yeah, I know him. He's really good. Blake Burke's the one you absolutely cannot let beat you, though. Like, circle him. Don't let him beat you. He's going to make a lot of money this July, too, by the way. Other guys that you will know, Dylan Dreiling having another great year, 12 homers. That's second on the team. He's hitting over 350. Definitely a name that you should remember. Christian Moore, definitely a name that you should remember. He's hitting 350. He leads the team in home runs. Oh, by the way, I should mention Dreiling's also the leading RBI guy. Kavaris Tears, that's a guy you should remember, and here's why. He had a massive hit, he almost had like a go-ahead homer in one of the games in Baton Rouge, but he flew out to the wall. He pinch hit. And after the game, Jay Johnson mentioned him and said something to the effect that guy didn't even start. And when I was watching film, he was one of the players I was most afraid of in their lineup. He didn't even start in that game. But when he came in, you kind of saw why. He's starting this year, y'all. And he's tied with Blake Burke with a 4.10 average, and he's got 10 home runs. So circle that guy as well. Someone who Jay Johnson called in their lineup last year, the hitter that he was most feared of, and now you see why. Maybe you couldn't see it then because he wasn't in the everyday starting lineup. Now you see why he's incredible. And then Dean Curley, a freshman. This guy, he's got to be the leader right now in the Southeastern Conference for Freshman of the Year, hitting 341. As we mentioned earlier, the 9 homers. He's right there. So it's just a very deep and potent Tennessee lineup that is going to cause problems for LSU's pitching staff. It just is. Because they cause problems for everybody. Like, we've talked a lot about LSU staff and been like, ew, that's not great. That's not great. But that's not a slight at them. Tennessee hits everybody, and they're going to hit you too. It's just, can you limit the damage? Can you have some guys step up? And can you match them offensively? That's going to be the question. So that's the question. Let's zero in a little bit more on a few keys, then we'll give you a series prediction. Pitching, let's just get that out of the way. We already mentioned limit the home run numbers. But here's the deal. I told y'all all throughout the week that my keys for pitching aren't changing. Keep the leadoff man off base because you've been really bad at that. And don't allow 2-out base runners and 2-out runs. Limit those because you've been really bad at that. So that doesn't change. Like, that is just going to be a standing key and something to watch for every single game LSU plays from here on out. And we will keep mentioning it every time. Keep the leadoff man off base. Finish innings. No 2-out runs, no 2-out base runs. Finish innings. And in doing so, you will finish off more hitters, which has been a little bit more of a problem as well. The bullpen. All those guys we talked about that we expect to potentially see in roles. They're carrying extra pitchers, right? Sam Dutton. Want to see him. You might see Aiden Moffitt. All right, let's see it. I expect you to see Cam Johnson. All right, can you step up and go? Gavin Guidry, Griffin Herring. What can you do? Like, Cade Woods, maybe? Sure. Cade Anderson, maybe? Sure. All hands on deck from a pitching staff perspective, y'all. All hands on deck. And I'm very intrigued to watch how they set it up, because I'll tell you this too. I've been thinking all week, and maybe this is an instance that they can potentially do that in a sense with how they've set the rotation up. It would be of great benefit to LSU to be able to have Griffin Herring available in game number 2. Like, you couldn't do that last week when you had a 9-5 lead or 9-4 lead or whatever it was, and you had the air and everything. We don't need to rehash. You have to bring Herring in, and you end up burning him. I've told you how much I love the combination of Holman and Herring. It's a different look, all those things. But LSU needs to figure out a way to win game 1 without using Griffin Herring, because he is your best bullpen arm, and I want him available in a spot when you're trying to win a series, potentially. Now, maybe they're looking at this and saying, okay, if we can go Jump, Herring, get a win, then you have Holman on the bump to maybe get you 6, hopefully, and you piece it together at the end there, fine. But either way, unless you just go shellac Tennessee, which I don't think you're going to do because they're going to score, guys are going to have to step up behind Griffin Herring. Like, you feel really good about the game he pitches in, you're going to win, but how do you get another one? Like I said, it would be great if you could have him ready to go in a second game when you're looking to win a series. And that was kind of something I looked at where I'm like, okay, if you could have Holman go out there and get you a win and then go, piece it together, like have your most dominant game behind Luke Holman and be able to save Griffin Herring, that's obviously the blueprint. We'll see how that set it up, but just remember that. It'd be great to have Herring on the mound trying to win a series. Instead of game 1. But at the same time, win at all costs. Like, if you got a chance to win, go for it. Go for the jugular, especially carrying extra pitchers this week up to Knoxville. Offensively for LSU, there's a few guys I want to see remain in the lineup right now, and one of them is Ashton Larson. The other one is obviously Stephen Milam, and then Paxton Kling. So those 3 guys I'm going to be watching intently. Larson, because I want to see if he can kind of keep going. And over the course of the last few weekends, you've started to see Stephen Milam, what I think is start to adjust to SEC pitching a little bit, which is good. And then Paxton Kling, same reasoning. The last 3 games have been good for him. 3-game hitting streak, 3 straight games with a double. He's driven walks. He's using the whole field. Is he ready to finally kind of break out? So I'm definitely watching those 3. And the other guy I'm going to watch is Hayden Travinski, because Travinski's really struggled as of late. And he's going to be in there DHing. I do believe. I think I'd be surprised if he's not in there as designated hitter. But he needs to find a little bit more consistency at the plate. This is reminiscent a little bit of last year where he came on, halfway through SEC play and was gangbusters for, the last 2 months of the season. And then once you got into June, particularly late June, he kind of disappeared a little bit on you. And now he started the season off gangbusters, and now he's kind of disappeared a little bit on you. So you want to see him try to find some consistency again at the plate. And then overall for LSU, I want to see them keep the same aggressiveness. Like, give me the hit and runs. Give me the steal attempts. Give me the squeeze bunts. Give me manufacturing of runs in any way possible. Or will you run yourself into some outs and out of some innings? Probably. Are you going to score more runs? Yeah, I think that too. And then the last thing, see if they can finally hit a bullpen. Like, I'm confident, y'all, that LSU's going to put up runs on Drew Beam. They're going to put up runs on Xander Zekris. They're going to put up runs on whomever Tennessee decides to start in game number 1. Because LSU's put up runs on every starter not named Jack Caglione and Carter Holton. Like, they've had success against every starter not named Jack Caglione and Carter Holton. So they're going to have success against this guy and the next guy and the guy after that. Can they keep it going throughout the game? Can they keep constant pressure? And that's where I look at a guy like Milam and Kling, because they're going to be hitting towards the bottom of the order. They're key to that constant pressure. Lengthen the lineup. So those are the things I'm watching here in this weekend, and in turn are the keys to LSU getting the series win. When it comes down to a prediction, no, I am not picking LSU to get the series win. I think LSU gets 1 game. I do, because I like them to be able to really slug with Tennessee in game number 1, and if you can get enough out of Gage Jump, you're going to be in a great position to win that ball game. And then, look, Luke Holman, you have to win a game that Holman's on the mound. Like, you have to win a game behind Luke Holman. And I do think adding some of these guys to the bullpen is going to help as well. And we went through all the reasons why previously this week, so go find the episode if you want to listen to that. So I like LSU to at least get 1. It is a winnable series, but again, I'll give you the same answer I gave you against Vanderbilt when it came time for prediction. Yes, it's winnable, but I cannot in good faith with everything that I've seen pick LSU to win it. So I'll take Tennessee 2 out of 3 and say LSU gets 1. We'll have you covered wall to wall throughout the weekend. You know that right here on Musso at the Box. So get subscribed to the podcast channel, to the podcast, and on your favorite YouTube channel. Screwed that up. on your favorite podcast network and to the YouTube channel. Get subscribed, smash the like button, and be here next time on Musso at the Box.